Assalamu alaikum and welcome to The Bigger Picture. Today, the topic we're discussing is world peace.
Social, finance, employment, transport, welfare, education, disarmament, careers, health, politics, world peace, disability, sports, stress, mental health, polio, cancer, diabetes.
Throughout the show, we'll be discussing topics like, what does peace mean to you? Does peace mean justice, conformity? Is religion the cause of peace? Or does it work towards not promoting peace? Well, sit back and relax and start thinking about what you feel peace is all about, because we will be asking you questions and we'll be asking you to join us in the show today. If we look at the world today, we'll see that it's being consumed by issues that are leading to frustration and resentment, and which in turn are undermining peace. To gain insight, we sent our The Bigger Picture team to go and speak to people on the street and gauge what they thought.
But I think it's through dialogue. I don't think war can bring peace.
Peace is a combination of things. It's more about the connectivity towards the world, how we all strive to be one another. We all live off each other's sort of needs and wants. We don't sort of relish in the fact that we need to create war. That's never going to solve anything.
Like, look into ourselves. What difference can we make instead of telling others what they should do?
I come from Paris, and because of the bomb attack, we saw that people in Paris want the peace by being together and gathering where the attacks took place. And by this solidarity, we saw that we have a peace as a community.
Don't pick on someone because they happen to have just by miracle been born in some other part of the world to you, and that they might look different or sound different. It doesn't make any sense.
Peace is when there is no war, when you feel safe, when you go to your work, you know that you're not going to be attacked, you're not going to be killed. And peace is when countries interact with each other in a good relationship, they find a good connection between each other.
Yeah, it just seems completely mad to me that we're making decisions at such short notice. And I just think we need to get around the table and talk to each other more.
I think the best way to achieve world peace is to gather all world leaders to discuss the problems, the issues that are arising through the world. At the moment there are so many that it's going to take a long time to discuss, but it has to be done at some point. At the moment we're just getting further and further away from the idea of peace because of all the war and bombings throughout the whole of the world.
That was really interesting, and you can see the variation in the views. Today in the show we have the following guests. Welcome Robin and welcome Iris. How are you guys doing today? It's quite late in the evening, isn't it? So,
it is.
Okay, so we have Robin Marsh from the Universal Peace Federation, who is the Secretary General for the UK. Welcome, thank you very much for coming. We also have Iris Singer. She's a peace researcher, is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, and also you directed the psychopolitical teaching website, which is also being used at universities, called Moving Beyond Violence. Yes. Let's get it right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving Beyond Violence.
And it's interesting that is also now being taken on by different universities. Okay, also we have a number of guests on the phone today, and they will be calling in, and we'll be chatting to them about various issues in relation to peace. Then we have career advice. We have Jonathan Blaine, who will be giving us some information about how to find a job that you're looking for. It's a very interesting thing. And also one of the really interesting things that I'm looking forward to is looking to our cartoonist who's sitting right over there. Masood, you've got a blank canvas, and whatever your imagination, based on what we talk about today, you're going to draw an illustration for us.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah, and are you ready?
I was born ready.
Brilliant, I like to hear that. And also in the show, we have something called Press Highlights. And this is what the world press is writing about in relation to the subject that we're talking about today. Remember, this is as much as your show is ours. We'd like to hear your views and your thoughts on this topic. Tweet us at The Bigger Pic using the hashtag MTA_TBP. Or send us an email on thebiggerpicture@mta.tv. Our social media team is excited to read your responses to our discussion. We'll also be sharing your tweets and answering some of your questions. Before we go to our guests and ask them questions, we have one for you. If you get it right, you can win a prize. If you answer this multiple choice question from the Supreme Head of the worldwide head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, you can win the Bigger Picture mug. Tell us the name of the mosque that Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Khamis inaugurated last month in Japan. It's a multiple choice answers here. Badul Ahad, Badul Nur, or Badul Wahid. Please send us your answers via Twitter or email. So here's the mug. This is the mug that you could win if you get the correct answer to that question that we've just posed. So let me just start by asking our guests some questions, if that's okay. Robin, I'd like to start with you, if that's okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your organisation, and actually tell me, what does peace actually mean to you?
So Universal Peace Federation was founded by Father Mother Moon 10 years ago on the basis of a number of preceding organizations. But the idea that he's had throughout his ministry was that humanity is one family under a loving, inclusive God. And he would see each person as having sacred value, whether they believe in God or not. But God loves each one of them so much. So if we treat someone badly, we're also affecting our relationship with God too, because God is within that person.
Yeah, very interesting, because it is all about just extending a bit of love, a bit of hello or warmth to everybody, regardless of whatever their sort of colour, creed or background or whatever religion. It's a very interesting thought. Thank you very much. Iris, tell me, what does peace look like to you? You know, the work that you've done as well.
Well, I'd like to pick up from Robin just now, because my work is about looking at how do people get to that position? Why is it that some people choose violence and war or genocide and others don't? And what can we learn from people who have chosen to step out of violence and step out of denial? What can we learn from them so that we can move towards? For you it was religion, but there must be many other ways as well that bring us to that position, and Combatants for Peace will actually will bring them in soon.
Do you think it's an area that we have to conform? Is it justice? Is it moral issues? What do you think is related to that?
Well, I certainly think there are the ethics of hospitality, but I think that if I think about the ethics of hospitality, we're really talking about survival as well. If we go back to ancient society, Ubuntu, various religions, welfare state, is what you were saying before about offering a hand, caring for the vulnerable, just doing that, and it's the behavior, not the thought, and the belief, it's the behavior that brings us into it.
Go ahead,
that a lot is learned in the family. Just in the early years of the family, you learn how to compromise, you learn parents' love, you learn the value of the preciousness of your brothers and sisters from how the parents treat them.
And this is all before religion, actually, as people perceive religion. And actually, religion is a way of life, teaches you morals, teaches you good behaviour, and then your belief in whatever you like to do. As a Muslim, I believe in the oneness of God, etc., etc. But Robin, tell me a little bit about your organisation, because your organisation doesn't just here in the UK, but it stretches all over the world.
We're in at least 140 countries, though in some countries we're not as active as others. But our headquarters is in New York, and we have consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the UN. So we would like to see particularly a council of religious leaders also within the UN structure, so that it can be part of the decision-making process together with political decision-making. That we can have the wisdom of the scriptures as well as philosophical wisdom, etc., to bring much more of a consensual and inspired vision to find decisions.
Yeah. And this does sort of remind us of the poll that we're running. And as you know, we've been asking our viewers on Twitter, and also now we're also asking our viewers who are watching today's program as well to reply and send in your response to the poll that we're running. And as you know, the question that we're running is, what do you feel contributes to the unrest in the world today? So the question is, do you feel it's oil? Do you feel it's territory? Or do you feel it's religion? So at the end of the show, what we will do is give you the results. So I would encourage you, remember this is, much as it is our show today, it's the show for our viewers at home or wherever they are watching this program online, on their computer. So please do respond, and we'll collate all of the results and give you the answer at the end. So Robin, let's just ask one more question about yourself, because we came and saw one of your presentations, didn't we, about a couple of weeks ago. We were really impressed in one of your messages, and the people that were there at this event, they were from different backgrounds, and it wasn't as if they belonged to any religion. They were just there because they wanted to share some love, wanted to be peaceful, and wanted to, again, I mentioned it earlier, help someone, give a warm feeling, making a phone call, listen. So what else did you achieve from that result? What was the main aim for that?
I think we wanted to explain some basic peacemaking principles that we work by, and also this idea of one family under God, in which by loving people of different races, of different backgrounds, completely different to yourself, then actually your consciousness becomes bigger. Your mind, your heart can become bigger. And by taking responsibility for people whose issues have nothing to do with you, but you can see the injustice, helps you to become a more righteous person and someone who can be used by God to help make a better world.
And there is that transition, isn't it? It's as there is that you were talking about earlier, that transition from not having any thought process, just living life as normal, but actually making a conscious decision to do good and not to be violent. So tell me a little bit more about your thought process.
Okay, I think for me the basic question is, how do we get to make that transition? I mean, what you're describing is people who for one reason or another, maybe their early life experiences in family, but many people have rather negative early life experiences, either within the family or within the society where they live, the politics. What is it? That's what really interests me. What is it that helps people to want to give up that solution of violence, of solving problems, and look for another way?
Yeah,
and
interesting.
That's
Exactly. As you know, we've got some interesting callers coming in, which I'll let our audience know as time comes through, because a couple of these people have made that conscious decision, and they've made a lot of effort in striving that. So we will be talking to another one of our guests later on. It'll be Kiran Bali. She's got an MBE in the global chairperson for the United Religions Initiative. So we will be talking to her very shortly. I believe she may even be on the line now, but just before I come to Kiran, if you are there, I'd just like to say welcome. Thank you very much, Kiran, for being with us today.
And thank you for organising this important discussion. Good evening to you all.
Yeah, I don't know how much of our discussion you've been hearing, Kiran, but what I'd like to just say, because the sort of work that you've been doing, and we've been discussing the work you've done internationally, you've done a lot of work with the sort of cultural work that you did climate control, that you travelled, and also with the efforts you've done, you won an MBE. So one of the things that I like to ask you, in your travels, how are you seeing the word peace? What's the sort of perception that you're feeling as you travel around the world?
I've seen that many people have a different interpretation to peace, and that is shaped by their own personal dimension and sometimes their current environment that they live in, but also the challenges that they're facing. So, for example, commonly, world peace refers to a period of harmony, I guess, between the different groups that live in the community. It's often characterized by the absence of hostility and the existence of having healthy relationships. But for some people, it's more about prosperity in matters of social or economic welfare, the establishment of a society where equality is absolutely key, and then for others, a political order that serves the true interests. So it comes in lots of different interpretations, and I think that's what is most important about it. Peace means different things to different people, but many times we talk about the inner peace, being at peace with oneself. But I feel that is so important, but that inner peace must be the catalyst towards holistic peace.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. You do talk about the inner sort of feeling that people go through. There is the other side as well. When you're not a religious person, how then do you decide to take on that role to be peaceful? Your upbringing may define a lot about what you do and what you say. But can you give me an example as to some of the work that you've done that actually isn't really related to the religious side of the work that you do, but actually some of the examples of the work that you've completed in actually looking at various things in relation to the work that you've done?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm privileged to be part of the United Religions Initiative, and we're a global grassroots interfaith network in 94 countries. We cultivate peace and justice by engaging people of all different backgrounds, be they religious traditions, spiritual expressions, indigenous traditions, to work together for the good of their communities and then for the good of the world indeed. And how we do that is by having these special circles called cooperation circles. Yeah, that's right. And the members engage in community action in many different areas such as conflict resolution, environmental sustainability, education, reconciliation, human rights. And it's all about changing the mindsets, changing the habits. You don't have to follow a religion to be part of that. It's all about the diversity that we really celebrate and the diversity which makes up our world. And bringing those people together to work towards common goals is a really good model to really be the change that we wish to see. We wish to see this peaceful world, and it's got to start with us. But working together as a community, that's the strength.
Yeah, exactly right. Thank you very much, Kieran. I really enjoyed talking to you and sharing your thoughts. And I'm sure we'll keep in touch again, and you'll be willing to join us again on a future programme?
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, nice talking to you. And that's likewise for both Robin and Iris as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so I think there is this issue that Kieran also touched about, that there's these things about the fight for territory, wanting power, wanting something that I don't have that the other person has. And these are sort of like the bigger things, but there's things that you can do at a much local level, right down to your street level. So I've got one of our other guests on the phone, and her name is Councillor Candice. She's a councillor from the Hounslow Borough. Candice, are you with us?
I am. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Good to talk to you again. And Candice, one of the things that you did in your area, you celebrated Peace one day, and that's quite a big organisation in itself. Can you tell me, why did you celebrate Peace one day?
Well, I first heard about Peace one day about 8 years ago. I went to a Peace one day event, and what I discovered on that night was that there's actually an International Peace Day on the 21st of September every year. And the 21st of September is actually my birthday, so I was just really sort of happy to hear that my birthday is actually marked as this International Peace Day, and it really motivated me to think, right, if not every year, every couple of years, I'd really like to celebrate the day and raise awareness about the day. Because even though it's been established since about 2001, I think, it's still, I think 610 million people around the world know about this day, but still I talk to a lot of my friends and they haven't heard about it, so there's still a long way to go as far as raising awareness about the day. So I thought I'll try and be part of raising awareness about the day, but also just trying to add awareness about living peacefully and amongst
you're exactly right. Exactly right, and that's exactly what we want to promote. What Peace One Day does. Well, Candice, thanks for that input. It was really useful. Thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll catch up again soon. Thank you very much, and that goes again for both Iris and Robin. Thank you. So what we like to do now is the press highlights. This is what the world press has been talking about. And we selected 7 newspapers, and one of the newspapers that we selected was the New York Review. This is where the refugees and a new war is also looking at. It's there on the screen. And the other one we looked at was Time magazine. Peace looks further away than ever before for Israel and Palestine. And Time magazine, Obama should stay out of Turkey's Russia crisis. And then we have The Economist, governors seek to exclude Syrian refugees. Guardian, Britain carries out first Syria airstrikes after MPs approve action against ISIS. And then we have the BBC Newsbeat, 8 things you get wrong about Syria and airstrikes. And then lastly, we chose The Spectator. Anyone who uses the phrase Daesh is terminally deluded. John, I'm sure you're not deluded in any way.
Not at all.
No, I didn't think so at all. So what I'm going to do, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show, we're going to go and talk to John, who is our career advisor. So what would be really nice if one of those sort of 7 magazines, you could just choose one of them, and then we can talk about them in a little bit more detail, if that's okay.
Okay.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I'm going to go and talk to John in a second now. Okay, right, John. Just grab my notes and then I'll be with you for a little while. John, good to see you again. Thanks for coming here today. I'd just like to say John is a professional in what he does. He helps people find jobs. He has a website, Job Hunting Careers Advice, and he's written many books, haven't you, John? Lots of different books. So, John, why don't you just do a bit more of an introduction, do a bit more justice than what I can do, because we've known each other quite some time. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm a best-selling author of 12 books.
Yeah.
I've got nearly $4 million of sales, and I'm what they call in the industry a thought leader. So I'm a pioneer and an innovator, and the place that I like to be is at the front edge of progress. So I'm into the leading edge. That's the space that I like.
Well, when we talk about progress, we talk about change. You can see the climate in the world is so different to what it was about 5-6 years ago. What sort of advice have you got for people now looking for a job, choosing a career with the current climate we're facing now?
Well, I think we're in extraordinarily difficult, times. I mean, if I could reflect back, my grandfather was born in 1865, and in that time, since my grandfather was born, the world has changed hugely. And what we're finding now is that knowledge is increasing at such a rate. In fact, progress is accelerating exponentially, that in the history of mankind, the world that we're all living in today is so different to that of our parents and of our grandparents. And that presents great challenges because there's huge complexity. We're in a technological revolution. Yeah. We're in an ultra-connected world where things are changing so fast that it's very difficult to keep up. So young people are going to university who will end up doing jobs that haven't yet been invented.
I have a question for you. Somebody wrote in earlier asking, if someone has just graduated, what advice can you now give them if they're looking for a job? They've just finished their degree, maybe done a master's, they're thinking, well, the situation's not looking right. What sort of advice can you give them?
Well, the first thing I think you've got to do is you've got to find your life's work. You've got to do something that lights you up, that excites you, that you feel passionate about. And I think that, you know, the first thing that you need to do is you need to find your life's work and then give yourself to it with all your heart. Obviously, the first thing you're probably going to want to do is to find a job. I think that because a lot of people are going to university now, it used to be you went to a good university, you got a good degree, you got a good job. Now, it's almost like everybody's got a good degree and lots of people have got them from good universities. So you've got to be able to compete, you've got to be able to sell yourself. And the way you can sell yourself is to understand what it is that employers really want and to take your whole job hunting and career problem solving to a higher level. So you need to put yourself into the employer's shoes. You need to think about what it is that they want, look at their job description, look at how you match that job description, but then go one level further where you start to look at what they haven't asked for, that they should be asking for, and to be able to sell the difference.
Okay, just before we conclude, thanks for that advice, very useful, and I'm sure our viewers will find that really interesting. If we talked about a specific job, maybe in the environment of peace, maybe working for the UN, in areas like that, what type of person do you need to be able to do that type of job, really?
Well, I think you've got to have a job that fits your personality. And one of the things that you can do is actually sort of do some personality tests to actually work out what natural characteristics that you have that would make you suitable for that role. I'd have thought that if you're working for the United Nations, you need to be very diplomatic, you need to be worldly, you need to be open-minded, you need to be you know, sort of comfortable working in diverse environments. And I think a lot of that comes to how you feel inside. I think we all have this feeling of certain things that make us feel comfortable. So if you feel comfortable, if you feel attracted towards that, you don't need to over-intellectualize, because your gut feeling, your inner self, is normally right.
Brilliant. So obviously this is the first time of the show we're having a conversation. So what I'll do, I'm sure we'll get lots more questions. We can be a bit more specific, and we'll give some real, advice to more specific questions as they come in. Well, thank you very much. That's been absolutely brilliant. Just as a reminder, what I'll say is, please, if you get a chance, remember to continue sending in your tweets. Remember, this is as much as your show than anyone else, at MTA BiggerPic, using the hashtag MTA_TBP. And obviously, don't forget the traditional way to send in an email via MTA, the bigger picture, at mta.tv. And our social media team are there ready, waiting to read your tweets. And obviously, let us share them with you and share them with the rest of the world. Thank you very much. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just, I think, we've had our illustrator, haven't we? And I'm sure he's been plugging away, doing his drawing. So Mashoud, can we have a look at what you've done so far? Is that possible?
Of course.
Okay, so let's see if we get it on the screen so our viewers can have a look. Wow, what do you think of that? Wow. So, so far, before we get into more detail, what sort of has inspired you to just think about that there for a moment? What in our conversation?
So currently, my biggest inspiration, maybe motivation, was probably the current war that's going on right now, obviously. What I really wanted to show or portray was the innocence of a child. The biggest victim, I think, right now is the children. They're not only being killed by the terrorists, but they're also inadvertently being killed by the soldiers as well.
So what we do, we'll get more of you later on at the end of the show. I think the last time we'll come to you now is when you've completed your drawing. But for now, what do you reckon? It looks quite good.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to see it again. It looks really good. Yeah.
Can we show it again on the screen? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, cool. Look at that. Brilliant. Okay, so what we have now is, I sort of alluded it a bit earlier when we talked about real change, where people have had some real emotion to deal with. At the moment, we've got a caller, Bassam. Bassam, he's on the line now. I just want to introduce Bassam. Bassam, hi there and welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Bassam, obviously, just as a way of introduction to our viewers, obviously this is the first time you've come into our show and join us today. Is it you were in an Israeli occupation jail for about 7 years, and also then you unfortunately lost your daughter by an Israeli border police who shot at the age of 10. But these must have been real emotions in your life. How did you turn away from that and become at peace, and eventually were one of the co-founders for Combatants for Peace?
Yeah, thank you. It's the worst thing to lose a child, especially it's an innocent child, 10 years old daughter. It's very difficult. You have this feeling of anger, but in the same time, this killer is not my teacher. He's not my example. I have my own values. I have my own way. I didn't find the answer to kill an Israeli daughter, 10 years old. You understand that there is no revenge because you will never meet your daughter again. And it's nothing to do with your pain. You need to know how to use and how to direct your pain in a positive way, not to harm any other people, especially innocent people, which is a long process, but you start by your own values. As I said, he's not my teacher, he's a killer, and if I go to kill, I will be a killer like him. And especially when you fight for a just case to live in peace and to have freedom, you are not going to be a killer.
Yeah. And that must have been quite hard initially, but when emotionally, when you had that realization that, you're much better at peace, that internal, we discussed it earlier in the show, that the internal peace that you come to terms with is really powerful.
Yes, absolutely. When you live in peace with yourself, it means to unite with yourself, to know what you want, to live in, to understand the environment. Absolutely, this is a big change when you make peace with yourself. Then you are a free man. You are not a victim anymore. No one can occupy you. And you start to see things as a human being, not as an animal.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you're right.
Yeah. Well, Bassam, I wish I had more time to talk to you because your story is very powerful. But because here today we're in a live show, there's only limited time. But I'm sure we'll continue on this discussion, if not now, on the social media. Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Iris, just very quickly, I mentioned about Combatants for Peace. Could you just explain to me, for our viewers who don't know and then what we'll do then is we'll just go into the articles and let me know which newspaper that you've chosen.
Combatants for Peace, for me, were the absolute example of what we should be looking at and learning from. They're a group of Palestinians and Israelis, former mortal enemies, wanting to kill, if they didn't actually kill members of the other side, one another, and each individually came to a decision that they are not going to do this anymore.
Excellent.
And that's the really, I think that's the critical question, the critical point.
Yeah.
How did they get there?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly right. And if we had more time, we would definitely delve into that a lot more. But just very briefly, which article did you choose out of the ones we mentioned earlier?
Look quickly at the Israel-Palestine article, and I don't have it with me anymore.
Yeah.
But the bits I took from that are that it is essential to give up the occupation if we want peace there.
Yeah. And what was the name of that? Which article was that from? Which magazine?
Unfortunately, I'm sorry, I don't have it with me anymore.
Right,
It's not here.
Yeah, okay.
To give up the occupation, the brutal occupation, as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And I think the West and other countries could have a vital part to play in that. And to develop a Palestinian society, normalcy, economic, quickly as possible, and the two peoples will live together like neighbours.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, when you talk about neighbours, you know, we can also now introduce Itamar Shapir, who, as you know, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. Let's see, Itamar, are you here with us right now?
Yes, I am. Hello, Hanif.
Welcome. Let's just get straight into it. I'm just going to pose a quick question to you, and if you can give me a quick answer. You were an ex-Israeli soldier, and you decided yourself that you didn't want to fight anymore in the occupied land. You decided that that's not what you wanted to do. And how did you come to terms with that? What was your reason for not wanting to fight anymore as a soldier?
I think there was the amount of violence that I was suddenly exposed to, unlike Palestinians are, Israelis live fairly safe. And I think going into a battle for the first time was shocking. And it took me a long time of maybe 9 sort of invasions or raiding of Palestinian villages while collectively punishing them, blowing up houses, killing people, blocking whole roads, whole villages, basically sieging them, taking apartments, and clearing them from their people in order to take it for an army position. And finally, usually in these raids, we would go from house to house and just arrest masses of children and men, basically, in order to be taken to interrogations by the secret police.
Yeah.
And this is a normal procedures of raiding of villages. This is something that, of course, all Western countries do in their occupation. Suddenly, in the beginning, I felt like a hero. I felt like, I'm protecting my country and all this.
Okay. All right.
And after a while, it started to occur to me that we are actually, every time that we go to punish a village for having terrorists coming out of there.
That's excellent. Thank you very much, Itamar. That's really interesting. And what we'll do, we'll continue on with that again at another time. That was really good input into the discussion that we're having again. Thank you again for your input, and I'm sure we'll talk again to each other again. So now what we're going to do is we've got the results now very shortly about the poll that we've been running. The one online, the one we're running on Twitter, that finished roughly around 9 o'clock. Now we're just about to finish now, and we're about to give you the results now. So there's the results to the poll. That's quite interesting there. 64% of the people who voted thought oil was the reason. Is that what you would have expected?
Solar panels will be world peace.
Solar panels will be. Oh, fantastic. Okay. So let's have a look at the final drawing that Masood has come up with the discussion that we've been talking about. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Yeah, look at that. Masood, that is quite amazing. You managed to achieve all of that. So what do you reckon of that?
I think it's amazing. Yes, I really do. I think you really got it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's really good. Thank you very much. I know, Robin, we didn't get much chance to. I know the newspaper that you chose from The Economist. Do you want to just give me one line before we then go and announce the results to the question we rang about winning this cup? But please tell me what you've chosen the article from The Economist.
It's about a number of American politicians making political capital out of Syrian refugees and refusing to accept them in their states, so-called. But we have a moral responsibility to receive refugees because they are refugees and they're in a suffering situation. I wanted to contrast it with the former president of Uruguay, who said, receiving Syrian refugees is an investment. It's not a cost. In years to come, they'll become taxpayers. And if I could take more, I would accept them.
Exactly, as Germany is demonstrating. So I've just been told that we had 10 people who got the correct answer to winning this cup. So to make things very fair, either one of you two, if you can decide, Robin or Iris, just give me number 1 to 10.
2, it's my favourite number.
2 is your favourite number.
Yes.
So the winner is number 2, and his name is Zohar. Sorry, her name is. Sorry, I've just got it correct. So you've won this cup, and definitely this is something that this is brilliant for you. Thank you very much for letting us know. So you've got the answer to the question. So why don't we just reveal what that answer particularly was? Okay, so let's keep on the stage. So the answer was A. That's right, Batul Ahad. So that's fantastic there. So we're now nearing the end. So what I would say, based on our conversation, thank you very much, and all those people who took part, is that I would urge all individuals to play their respective roles in promoting peace, in what they do. I mean, there still is a chance that we could avert a third world war, but that's down to us individuals, and if we can all do that. What I like to just end with and summarise it, this is what other world leaders have been saying about how we can achieve peace, both past and present. Peace is not merely a distant goal we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. Martin Luther King Jr. Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. Albert Einstein. Courageous people do not fear forgiveness for the sake of peace. Nelson Mandela. You cannot shake hands with a clenched fist. Mahatma Gandhi. We should realize and recognize the critical need of the hour. We must accept that peace can only be built upon solid foundations of honesty, integrity, and justice. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih V. Well, thank you to all of our viewers for watching and getting involved. And no doubt this conversation will continue online on social media. And it's been a great experience for us, and I'm sure it's been a great experience for my guests as well. Please do join us next time when we'll be discussing the topic of mental health illness, as well as understanding what the social media is and the discrimination around it. And we'll have our experts to answer some of the questions that you pose. And that's it. Thank you very much. And that's it from me, and that's it from my lovely guests, and we look forward to seeing you again. Assalamu alaikum.